Hey, what's up, everybody? So we still have not had any resolution when it comes to the future of Jaire Alexander in Green Bay. He's still currently on the roster. We've evaluated lots of different quotes from Brian Gutekunst, different reporters in the past couple months. But as it stands, with 2 days till the draft, Jaire is still on the roster. But I want to take a look here at an interview with Rob Demovsky on the show Wilde and Tausch. It was either yesterday or the day before. And Rob Demovsky, reporter for ESPN, gives some thoughts and what he's been hearing about what is going on with the Packers and Jaire Alexander. So I'm just going to listen through this, and we'll listen through the, I think, most important parts, and I'll sort of give my thoughts, and I'll link the entire interview in the description down below. So here we go.
All right, I want to get into a little bit of the draft logistics, but before we go any further, I don't think there has been a longer drawn-out beyond the Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers sagas of a player's impending departure from Green Bay than the Jaire Alexander saga. And Rob, correct me if I'm wrong. You have a complete vendetta. No, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I've ever heard a general manager say what Goody did to you at the NFL meetings, which was, if he's not going to be on the roster and helping us win games, then we want to get something for him because we've invested a lot in him.
Correct.
Usually when you're talking about the hypothetical of a guy not being on your team, all you say is, he's on our roster right now.
Right.
As
Or we'd like to keep everybody. That's the standard.
Right.
Goody
What
line,
did you
right?
think when you heard that out of Goody's
Well,
mouth?
All right, so first off, before we hear Rob Demovsky right there, this is my opinion. The fact that Brian Gutekunst is actively shopping Jaire Alexander and publicly saying it, I just had the thought that if you're Jaire and your team is basically trying to move on from you, why would you want to be on the team? That's sort of one of my thoughts here and why I do think that Jaire is going to be gone. I feel like a team's not going to trade for him, and I think the Packers will release him. But anyways, that's my thoughts. Let's hear Rob Demovsky.
It just further confirmed, not that I needed another confirmation, that they would rather not have him on their team. Like they in a perfect world, and I think they intend to operate in a perfect world, Jaire Alexander is not on the team when the 2025 season starts. And I guess your definition of when it starts could be the start of the offseason program, which is today, virtually. Or is it the mandatory minicamp? Is it training camp? Is it week one? It's such an unusual situation for this reason, Jason, from a contractual standpoint. Very rarely do you have a veteran player who doesn't have any offseason guaranteed money. Like there was no March roster bonus that would have forced them to make a decision. Like they don't owe this guy a dime guaranteed until whoever they're playing week one. Like that's it. There is an offseason workout bonus. I would assume that he will not participate, in the offseason program. But this is as long and drawn out a process for a guy who I would say with 99.5% certainty is probably not going to be on their team.
All right, so he's at 90 to 95% certainty he's not going to be on the team. And that's sort of where I stand. And it's not because, when you look at the financial implications of Jaire being on the roster or not being on the roster, yes, the Packers can save some money by moving on from him. But I just feel like it's more so the fact that Jaire's been so injured that the Packers recognize that there's a lot of uncertainty, even if Jaire stays, if he's going to be fully healthy. And so that's why I feel like at this point they're just ready to move on, even though it's not like, you save a ton of money. You save some money, but it's not a crazy amount.
Rob, when you say they don't want him, obviously I think that includes Goody in the front office, but does that also include Matt LaFleur and the coaching staff?
No, 100%. Yeah, this is an organizational feeling. The frustration level has come to the point where, they just don't want to not know from week to week where their guy's going to play. It's not unlike the David Bakhtiari situation. Dave's injury was seriously severe. Jaire's maybe not as severe, but if they could get an assurance that Jaire Alexander is going to play 12 or 13 games this year, I think they would take him back. They just do not and cannot be in a position where they don't know. They're using a roster spot. They're giving practice reps. They're spending money on a guy that they don't know how many games he's going to play. Look, we don't know how many games anybody's going to play, but there's history here, and you just can't continually operate that way and expect to be successful.
Yeah, when you look at the past 2 years, 7 games played each of the past 2 seasons, that's just the unfortunate reality is Jaire has not stayed healthy, and you want to be able to rely on someone to come in there. And if he was healthy, as Rob Domofsky said, then I think if he had been healthy the past couple of seasons, I don't even think this conversation we'd be having this conversation. Jaire would be on the roster in 2025, but just that uncertainty. And it now makes you wonder, if Jaire is gone, which I think he's going to be gone, will the Packers draft a corner pretty high up tomorrow? I'm gonna put out a video tomorrow predicting who I think the Packers will draft the day before the draft tomorrow, so stay tuned. Feel free to turn on the notifications if you want to see that video. But corner could be interesting, but let's finish off here. There's a couple more clips here.
The weird thing about it, though, is that he's 28 years old, and there are coaches, and I'm sure Goody believes this too, even though he clearly has made up his mind on this. The guy can still play when he plays, and that's the problem here, right? So when you look at this, have you garnered anything from John Thornton or from Jaire's side of this in terms of, like, if I'm him, I don't want to be traded. I'm not going to adjust my contract. I want to be able to go choose wherever I want to go. So has there been, Goody said to you at the NFL meetings, we're talking on a weekly basis. What does that conversation consist of?
Yeah, probably not much, to be honest. Probably, we've heard from some teams. We haven't heard from some teams, something like that. But I can tell you from talking to people on the Jaire side of things is that he will not take a pay cut. The Packers have not offered a pay cut, at least at last time I inquired a week or so ago, or maybe a little more than that. They have not offered a pay cut, and even if they did, he would not take it. There's frustration on Jaire's part, I'm sure, about how they would like to be able to pursue other opportunities, right? Like, I mean, he wants to get on with this, and the hard thing for him is what he's supposed to make. Is it about $17.5 million this year? If they cut him, he's not making that, right? Like, no one signed him. He's going to lose money in this proposition one way or another. So it's a tough situation for everyone.
Why won't Goody just admit that they're not going to get a trade piece for him and just cut him? Is there any? Because the only reason to hold on to this guy for this long is like, hey, you couldn't play for us, so now out of spite, I'm going to hold on to you. Like, I don't think that's it, Jay. I don't think that's it, but like that's the only thing I can make sense in my head.
Right. I think, Gabe, it's a good question. You might as well wait till the draft, like through the draft, right? Maybe somebody
at this point.
Yeah, maybe somebody doesn't get a guy that they wanted, doesn't get a corner. But come Monday, a week from today, if he's still on your roster, I would think that at that point there has to be some sort of a resolution.
All right, so that's a good point there. If the draft ends and some team feels like they need a cornerback, maybe that's where the Packers can still get a draft pick for Jaire Alexander. And it's not like it's impossible that Jaire stays on the roster. I would say it's a really low % chance just based on everything we've seen. The fact the Packers are actively shopping Jaire, it just feels to me like both sides are going to be ready to move on. That's just sort of how I'm seeing the whole situation. Of course, things could smooth over. Maybe they decide, okay, let's just keep him because if he stays healthy, then we're going to be fine. And maybe what the Packers do draft night will give us some more ideas about what they're going to do with Jaire. Like, for example, if they use a first-round pick on a corner, I think that's pretty clear that Jaire probably wouldn't be on the roster in 2025. Now, he still could, but something like that. So we'll have a lot more clarity in the next couple of days, and maybe even there's some kind of trade that goes down. So we'll keep an eye on all of that. And if you guys want more Packers draft content, I'll be out with videos breaking down the draft, my thoughts, things like that. So feel free to subscribe and turn on the post notifications so you don't miss any Packers content. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.